Hey there, James Leggett here again with the James Leggett channel. I wonder if you noticed in the headline I talked about 8.5 hours of YouTube. That was not a joke. I mean, I really mean I do actually watch um, 8+ hours of YouTube. A lot of times I will leave it on during the day, and maybe while I'm working or maybe I'm doing stuff around the house. But then a lot of times I actually am sitting and watching a show for like I'll binge watch a movie or a TV show series thing. And then I will go over to YouTube. And on YouTube, there will be, uh, these breakdown folks that will sit there and go down episode by episode. And they're reactors. That's what they're called. Reactors. Um, so I'm going to adjust my camera here just a little bit because I just feel like I'm off to the side or something. But I don't know. I don't know if it's something that you can tell or if it's just something that's bothering me. But be that as it may, all right, back to the subject. But so if you're going to watch a thing that has at least 6 to 8, all these shows now just have 6 to 8 episodes. It used to be, obviously we had Hill Street Blues and uh, all the shows I used to watch before that were like 20, 30 episodes and stuff. Dallas and Dynasty and L.A. Law. I mean, all these shows had long seasons. But whatever the case, now with the age of streaming, everybody has 6, 8, maybe 9. I think Andor had 9. Heated Rivalry had 6. I think the Daredevil show had 8. So you know what I'm saying? At least the Traders has like 11. They have like the 10 and then a wrap up or something. So anyway, the point is there'll be these shows that do a reaction, and then there'll be other shows that do interviews with the cast or the crew or behind the scenes and the making of. So it's very easy for me to spend a whole lot of time on YouTube. And the thing that is different for me, maybe, and maybe it's not, as I also mentioned there, is that I watch all that on my TV. you know um it's just like watching, instead of watching Netflix or HBO or Disney Plus or whatever the channel is. I'm watching YouTube. And to be clear, just so because I know there is such a thing, I'm not talking about YouTube TV. I know that's a subscription service thing, kind of like a streaming kind of thing. And I think that that is something that um, people get, but I don't know the details around that. My brother has it, and I've actually quizzed him on it. Bear with me just a minute. I want to cross check my mic, and I could turn this off, but I'm going to be honest with you and tell you, I haven't learned how to like take two little clips and put them together yet. So, because I have not had that learning curve, we're going to do me checking this mic live on camera. So if it makes a loud poppy noise, I'm sorry. So hold on a minute. I just want to make sure it's got, okay. I can see the light. I'm not going to touch it anymore. Okay. So, and the other thing I want to adjust is I feel like I'm looking, I'm trying to look into the camera and as though I'm having a conversation with you, but it's like if I sit, I feel like I'm looking over there somehow. I really don't know how to fix that. Um, I don't know what the solution is for that. Let's play with this a little bit. Hold on a minute. No, it's not doing anything at all. Okay, we're not going to bother with it over and over. Let's get back to the point. Point is this: I love watching all my stuff on YouTube on the thing on my TV. Now, if I want to fix something or learn how to put little batteries on a watch or something. I don't really wear watches, so it's a bad example, but you know what I mean. Just detail kind of little stuff. I'm blind as a bat if I take this off, as a lot of senior citizens are. I guess there's some people that aren't senior citizens that also, can't see without glasses. But it's a hallmark of seniors. You know what I'm saying? So if I take those off, you're all a blur. The camera is and all that. But with my YouTube scenario, I can literally go to all my little channels and things like that and see everything big. so I don't have to like be squinting and doing all that on my iPhone or looking really close at my computer. I, I got it on a big TV, so I can sit there and watch. Um, so now I'll admit, in the beginning, and somebody out there can correct me, I think it was around 2008 that YouTube came on the picture as a thing, and that people began to take notice. And in the beginning, I was one of those people that first saw it on my computer. I don't believe I had. I don't think iPhones existed at that time, if memory serves. So, and I know my first phone wasn't at all an iPhone, so there's that. But I know that first it was I had one of those great big egg-looking fluorescent color Apple Mac computers, and it was really cool. It was like this Star Trekky looking thing, to be honest, but I loved it. Um, you know, very weak by today's standards, but very, very cool looking. I will say this: nobody's come out with a computer that looked that cool before or since, in my opinion. They all look like boxes now, or just silver file carrier things. So whatever. But it was cool. I remember watching, and back then it was predominantly like I don't know, music video stuff, very, very rough movie TV type of things. It wasn't really reactor channels so much as it was just being able to see the newest trailer, that kind of thing. Um, I know that there was some of the, and I'm guessing this is how the kids got all plugged into YouTube. There was lots of stuff to do with video game things. I never played video games. I worked my way through high school from about 1 until the evening at the mall, and so I did not see that. I worked in retail, and then during college, I was hanging out with my fraternity brothers and little sisters, and taking classes, and just being a social person. And I didn't, I don't know what was happening then with that, but I didn't play video games. So that was like early '90s that I got out of school and then started to get to work and stuff. And so then you're finding a job and you're still not doing all that. Be that as it may, the point is I pivoted. And I guess I got that computer, and I've got to believe that was maybe in the gosh, maybe in the '90s, but maybe not. It may have been the 2000s. Yeah, it might have been the 2000s that I got that big bubble thing and watched YouTube there. But then I guess when the first iPhones came along, I got one of those, and sure enough, yes, I was like watching, the thing on that. And I haven't broken down and gotten the iWatch thing. I know people have those, like Dick Tracy. All my older friends on here will know what I'm talking about. All the younger people are like, who? Even though it was a movie with Madonna a few years ago. But again, probably most of you weren't even born when that movie came out. So Dick Tracy was an old comic strip. So for the, you understand superheroes and comics. So, there's that. Anyway, and he wore a watch where he could see people, and it was like, this big futury thing, but it was like literally, I think that came out in the 40s and 50s. So it was like, before its time. But the point that I'm making is that I'm not going to be able to see that on a watch. So it is like the biggest miracle in the world that YouTube decided, let's offer this as a channel and put it on every smart TV, because I love this. Love this. I can see all sorts of things, whether they're breaking down a TV show I like, or whether they're, reviewing a movie or doing spoiler reviews or non spoiler reviews. All that's fabulous to me. But, I used it for other things, because I'll tell you, when my father was ill, and my father had dementia, he had diabetes, could not walk, and he would get very confused the worse that he got. And so, a lot of times I would put on YouTube to let him take trips down memory lane, because YouTube has every bit of music you could ever begin to imagine, pretty much from the beginning of music: rock, country, soul, pop, you know, um, R&B, hip hop, disco, alternative, punk. If the music was made, somebody got a way to put it on video, and that video or that live performance is on YouTube, which is really cool. So I mean, my uncle watches some of the Woodstock stuff because he and my aunt were in Woodstock. So go figure. But the idea that you can at any time, day or night, see, you know, all these amazing things. If you want to check out something for your car, if you're going on a trip and you want to find out travel information about a particular area, above and beyond what might be, on the website for that thing, you can like find people who've been there and explored it and took pictures, took videos, like a travel log. Whether it's train, plane, boat, cruise, whatever it is, there's somebody's done it. With gay, straight, black, white, green, or yellow. Whether it's in the U.S., whether it's abroad, there's just all these really, really cool things. There's people talk about, all the things you need to have as far as your passport, but above and beyond that, like things you should bring, things you should, avoid, where it's safer to go. All these great things. I mean, because I, I think it's this, and one of the best things that it reminds me of is when I was a young man, and I think only the older people are going to remember this, maybe the 50s and up, and I don't think anybody below that probably. But when we were little, there used to be these people that would go door to door all across America. I mean, it's predominantly USA. I don't know if this happened in Europe, but it was predominantly in the USA. And they would do the Encyclopedia Britannica. And the Encyclopedia Britannica was this multi-volume, at least 26, maybe 30 books. And these things were huge. These things were like a foot high and thick, um, and each one was an alphabetical letter. And it would go through, you know, everything from Alexander the Great to zoology. I mean, it just, and it was kind of like the precursor to Google with data, but the precursor to visual of YouTube. Now, of course, there weren't videos in it. It was just, static pictures. So I would say it's more akin to, maybe it's a little bit between the two, but YouTube is obviously more animated because if you want to see a video on the history of Mesopotamia, it's on YouTube. If you want to see how to buy the right fishing things when you go fishing, my brother can go on YouTube. If you want to learn something about, music editing or synthesizing or just anything about music, my nephew can go on YouTube and find something too. So it's like all this stuff, all this stuff is available. And I think it's the coolest thing in the world. Um, and each time people do a search, there's billions of other people looking for the same thing, or other people, that are content creators creating that to fill the void, so that when someone does go looking for, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which is a play, but it's about a real blues singer called Ma Rainey, they can find it. Or if they want to find, the fact and the fiction of Sherlock Holmes, and obviously it was Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, but where he took things that were happening with the real Scotland Yard and would tie them into his fictional novels. But all that stuff. I mean, yeah, you could go look it up on Google and just it's very static, or you could go rent a book at the library. Check out. I guess you don't rent books at the library, but for a lot of people, and I'm one of those, I'll admit it, are audio visual, and we're going to be looking at what is like living story. I'm more of that because I can look at a book and I can read, but if I'm looking at a book and trying to get the most out of it, I'm honestly not going to get as much as I would out of something that's audiovisual. It's just, it is me. I know myself well enough. Call it an ADD thing. I mean, back in my day, we didn't have that word. We didn't even call it that, but that's what I call it. But so, the idea that I can do that now with anything, and I'll give you another example. When I was taking care of father, as I mentioned, he couldn't do a whole lot. So, but when I started, I didn't know how to cook a whole lot. It's not like I was raised learning how to cook. My mother didn't cook a whole lot of things. Her mother didn't cook a whole lot of things. And so, you know, my brothers and my sister and I, we kind of had to learn how we'd cook different things on our own, or figure out ways. And it used to be you'd ask somebody for a recipe and all that stuff. Now, then I guess you could Google, but then with YouTube, you can actually sit there and watch them cook it, and you can and rather than going, is this the right amount? Is this the right amount? You'll see how much they put, so you're doing it right. So the point is, I learned how to cook so many fun things for him, because with diabetes, so oftentimes the healthy food they want to give to a diabetic heart patient, and somebody with high blood pressure, they want to give him taste-free, bland food. A lot of health food is ungodly horrible. Sorry if you make health food, but and I probably won't get an advertiser there, but there are kinds that taste good. I will say that, but a lot of them, no. Some of them are just, they want to spend so much time not having food, dyes, additives, and chemicals, all the things that are very bad for us. I'm not arguing that we need them, but they take out the flavor along the way. So it may look like food, but it's not so great. And I didn't want him to have that. I also didn't want him to have like processed, institutionalized food, like a lot of elderly people get when they're in a an assisted living care, for someone who is in really bad shape and cannot bathe themselves, feed themselves, clean themselves, or get around, and he eventually became all of those. Now, the beginning, he couldn't walk, but he could get himself in and out of the wheelchair, but as he deteriorated along the 4.5 years, he got to all those places I just mentioned. But I said it, all that's got to be heady and depressing enough. My father had been a very active guy. He was a Vietnam era veteran. He was a lifelong truck driver. He'd been a boxer. He'd been a singer. He was just a very happy, jumping, hyper, moving kind of guy his whole life. And so, and very laughing and very fun. He was a great person. I mean, I love my father. But, he was hysterical. I mean, he was honestly, he well, we'll do a whole video on father another day. Anyway, I just wanted to make sure he had good food. I just wanted to take care of him because, I thought, let's have this little bit of joy, some fun food, put on some YouTube videos with some classic oldies that he loved, and or maybe a concert. He loved Cher and he loved Dolly Parton, go figure. So, we could both enjoy that too. So, hey, it was a win-win, but, wheel him into the living room in his wheelchair and put that on, have a nice dinner, watch something fun like that. He also loved that Elvis movie that Baz Luhrmann did. My brother brought him to the theater for that, and I went, and then I got it for home so he could watch again, because he had to do a bathroom break in the middle and he missed part of it. So, he was able to see that part once he got home. Now, I'm not sure how much of it he remembered, because as the dementia got worse, he would forget things, more and more frequently. I mean, eventually he forgot who I was. He would go in and out of thinking I was a guy who worked in a facility, but whatever, it is what it is. But he loved YouTube because, just like I said at the beginning of this, it's like, for many seniors, YouTube is like finding treasure. It's like, memories. It's images. It's, if you have a favorite Hollywood star, favorite athlete, um, you know, just so many different things that are there that can, strike a chord. And one of the things when you are an older person is keeping your mind active, stimulating, all those things in your head, reticular activators, that help you remember where you were, what you were doing when you heard that song or smelled that smell or tasted that thing. All that's so important. And so for YouTube to do this, it's just, and I know it sounds like I'm like I forget what the kids call it, a YouTube shill. That's what they'd say. But I guess in a way, yeah, that's why the idea of doing a YouTube channel, having my own channel and talking to people like you and being able to tell you about YouTube, it's not that I'm selling it because I want you to buy something. I'm really not. It's just the value that it's brought into my life and how it helped, my father and I during a really rough time. And I think it helps a whole lot of other seniors in so many different ways. I think it's amazing, you know. So, kind of across all those things. I mean, I've covered the bases. I mean, you get a pretty decent idea, and I hope if you are a senior like me and you're watching this and you have the wherewithal to, have a smart TV, and most do. I mean, they're not very expensive anymore, so I hope you'll be able to get one of those. I mean, I have mine hanging on my wall, and I didn't do it. My nephew did it for me, but you don't have to do that. But YouTube is a channel right on there. Mine's a Roku, but YouTube is literally right there, and so I can watch YouTube anytime, day or night. Doesn't cost me a penny, and I can look at everything. So even down to training how to do this YouTube channel, all that's there too. So here's the thing. So I know probably some of you, because you're obviously watching this, if some of you have discovered the concept of YouTube, have you also discovered the concept of all these searches and all these wonderful things? Um, or what do you watch YouTube for? Is it specific things, just for educational things? Is it just entertainment things? Is it a combination? How often do you watch YouTube? And then another thing, like me, do you watch it mostly on your TV, or are you watching YouTube for like your computer? Because I've seen a lot of older people sit, if they have a computer, they'll be sitting there in front of their computer and they'll, like, just grab a cup of coffee and do that. For me, it's a lot easier just to grab a cup of coffee and sit in front of my TV and watch YouTube. One, the screen is a lot bigger, and I can, kind of like a TV show or movie, pause it, get snacks, roll things back if I don't understand what's going on, or like this with my allergy cough. If I was sneezing or coughing during a part of that, or you have to go to the bathroom, the magic of YouTube is that as long as you're not gone too long, come back, unpause it, rewind it back a little bit, catch up. And then if that one thing doesn't give you the answers to what you're looking for, you can look for something else. So my question again is, what are you watching on YouTube? How much YouTube do you watch? And what do you watch YouTube on mostly? Is it your phone? Is it your computer? Or is it your television? I mean, I'd be curious to know. I don't know if I'm just, a crazy old guy and who does it on the TV, or if this is a thing now for mostly, our crowd. Um, I don't know. So anyway, down in the questions, comments and questions, whatever they're called, if you will, leave some of that information for me if you don't mind. The next thing too is, I keep forgetting, but if you like this video, if you enjoyed, this chat, let's, I would ask that you put a like button. There's, I don't know where it is, somewhere down here. Do the like button, and then I think I put a little thing at the left-hand side of the the tag, but I guess you can't see that now, and I can't either. But anyway, do the like button if you don't mind, and then do subscribe, and that way, hopefully, the algorithm will let you know when I'm posting. I post about a lot of different things that are, relative to, or senior citizen adjacent. So I hope that they'll be of interest to you also, and they would kind of join me along the ride as we talk about all these different things, whether it be health based, or taking a trip based, or food based, or entertainment based. I mean, there's so many different things. I mean, sometimes it may be an educational thing. I don't know. This is an adventure for me, and so I'm gonna enjoy different things. And I know they say on YouTube don't do different things, but I don't know that I agree with that. I think what instead I'm going to do is that you have a little box you click if you think it fits strongly into the niche of what you're doing, to click that. And if you don't think so, you unclick it or something. And that way it'll find, the algorithm on YouTube will find the people that are interested in that. So like, for example, if one episode I wanted to talk about, a new Broadway show, it might very well reach out to more Broadway based YouTube subscribers and people that are interested in Broadway stuff, but not necessarily my senior citizen folks. So I said, if you tune into what I'm doing and you kind of check in from time to time and or subscribe, you may very well be able to see that too, because I don't know, you might like more than one thing like me. So anyway, that's about all I've got today right now, and maybe today. I have an idea for maybe another video today, but I'm not sure that I'm going to do all of that at once. But I hope you have a great and excellent day. I hope that whatever you're doing, you get to enjoy it, and I hope you get to check out some really fun things on your smart TV on YouTube, because YouTube is great. Anyway, take care and God bless. Be safe and be well. Bye bye.